Hi, everybody. This is attorney Marisa Portuondo. I wanted to discuss something with you. Let me put my phone on silent. That came up yesterday, actually. I was speaking with a client at her house after an inspection, and we started talking about car insurance for some reason. And it just brought up this phenomenon that I've seen time and time again here in Florida, where people don't really understand Florida car insurance laws. Now, this is not an area of law that I practice in anymore. I used to do personal injury cases in a previous life. I just thought this was really helpful information because it's so confusing here in Florida, and pretty much everyone I know, especially in South Florida, has a car. So this is the way it works. In Florida, the only insurance that is required by law is called PIP insurance. That's PIP insurance, which stands for Personal Injury Protection. And it's exactly like it sounds. It is for covering your personal injuries. What does that mean? That means if you get in a car accident with somebody else, it's considered a no-fault insurance, which means regardless of who caused the accident, your own PIP insurance covers the first $10,000 of your own injuries. Now, there's a lot of intricacies there, but that's the simplification of it. So if driver A hits driver B and both people are injured, driver A's insurance will cover the first $10,000 of driver A's injuries. Driver B's PIP insurance will cover the first $10,000 of driver B's injuries. Most people think like, oh, Florida requires us to have insurance. Therefore, if I get hit by somebody, unless they're breaking the law, their insurance is going to pay for my injuries, or their insurance is going to pay for my car. And that's simply not the way it works. What pays for your car is property damage insurance. You may have your own property damage insurance, which will kick in if the at-fault driver does not have property damage insurance. However, you will have to probably pay a deductible. More importantly, are injuries. So the only way that the other person's insurance is going to pay for your injuries is if that person has what's called BI, which stands for bodily injury insurance. And this is not required by law in Florida. This is what a lot of people have the misconception about what's required by law. Now, there are a lot of companies that require you to carry BI and all other sorts of damage, of insurance, including property damage, which is when you are financing a car or you're leasing a car, then it makes sense that this company who owns a portion or all of your car really wants it to be fully insured. In that instance, if the person driving the car who hits you has a lease or a financed car, chances are they will be fully insured with some sort of bodily injury insurance, property damage, and so forth. However, if you get hit by someone who is not leasing their car, who is not financing their car, let's say you get hit by like a clunker, chances are that person is not fully covered. Chances are that person is not carrying bodily injury insurance. And if, God forbid, you're in a terrible accident and your injuries are more than $10,000, what happens? Well, the way that you can protect yourself here is to carry what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, also known as the best school ever. So, easy way to remember that. I strongly urge all my friends, my family members, and my clients to check their automobile policies and make sure that they have coverage. This really, really applies to those of you who live in South Florida. As we know, pretty much everybody here has a car. As we know, people don't drive very carefully down here, and there are a lot of uninsured or underinsured people driving around this town. What will do? Will pick up where the other person's insurance is either not present or is just not sufficient to cover your damages. It's relatively affordable. You can only have it if you have bodily injury insurance, at least with every insurance company I've ever dealt with, and you can have the same limits that you have in bodily injury. So for example, if you check your policy and you see that your bodily injury limits are 100, 300, that means you have $100,000 for any accident, for any person, for yourself, and $300,000 for any accident. Sorry about that. So that's what the 100, 300 means. If that's what you're carrying, then usually that's the amount of insurance that you can purchase. Some people have, only a little bit of insurance, a 10-20 policy, that's 10,000, 20,000. 50, 100, I believe is the next step. I'm not clear on that, but that is, the way that it works. So you want to make sure that you have I really, really cannot stress this enough. Check your policy today. If you don't have it, which is actually really common, you need to add it immediately. Okay, we actually used to turn down people when they didn't have and the other person wasn't insured because there was basically nothing we could do for them. If you have health insurance, that can pick up, some of the slack. But as we know, sometimes our health insurance policies have giant deductibles. You may have to meet a $7,500 deductible before your insurance even kicks in. So the best way to be safe, especially in this crazy driver town, is to make sure you have that Again, it's not super expensive. I really recommend it. Go ahead and check your policy. Your agent might tell you you're fully covered and you don't have A lot of times they don't push that coverage. The insurance companies aren't apparently too fond of selling that product for obvious reasons. So just a tip I wanted to give everyone. It's really I don't think I've ever spoken with someone who's not in the biz of personal injury, who's aware of exactly how Florida automobile insurance works and whether or not they're fully covered. So just my tip for the day. Have a great one.